After our Star Swings ranked video, the audience made it clear that they wanted a Star Pitches video too. So we are happy to report that today we are going to be doing exactly that. All captain Star Pitches in the game ranked, worst to best. Now we're going to be making a couple of assumptions in this video. First, that both the batter and the pitcher are using nunchuck. This affords each player with a lot more control. The pitcher over the trajectory of the ball, and the batter over their position in the batter's box. We will also be looking at these Star Pitches generally in a vacuum, irrespective of each individual character's actual pitching ability when not factoring in the Star Pitches. The one exception to that is that if there's a usually not very good pitcher who's a pretty strong Star Pitch, that will be a plus in their favor because then it makes it even more difficult to hit against because you're not used to seeing it. So, without further discussion, let's get right into it. Coming in at spot number 12 is Mario. Unfortunately for Mario, Star Pitches really are not that impactful in Mario Super Sluggers, costing often too many star points to make them worth it versus star hits. Unfortunately for Mario, his is by far the worst, being just a fastball right down the center of the plate. If you move the nunchuck's control stick left and right, you can influence the ball's trajectory just a little bit, but it doesn't make it much more difficult to hit. And following the strategy of swinging as soon as Mario's Star Pitch animation ends will generally still net you a hit. There's really little reason to use Mario's Star Pitch above a regular pitch with Mario since he's really not a bad pitcher, and that's why he gets 12th. Coming in right above at number 11 is King Koopa himself, Bowser. Bowser's Star Pitch is pretty similar overall to Mario's. Basically fires a bullet bill that again moves right over the plate, but it does follow a looped path, making timing your hit against it a little bit more difficult. Unfortunately, just like Mario's, while you get a little bit of control as the pitcher of the ball's trajectory, you don't really get a ton, meaning that the hitter can still generally hit the ball in the sweet spot relatively easily, netting them oftentimes with a strong hitter a home run, as we see with Petey right here. All of these reasons cause Bowser's Star Pitch to end up in 11th place. Number 10 is Birdo, and for similar reasons to Mario and Bowser. All three of them are unluckily saddled with Star Pitches that really don't change much about the ball itself other than its trajectory. Mario's makes it go really fast, Bowser's makes it also go really fast but complete a loop first, and Birdo's causes the ball to be sucked in slightly before crossing the plate. Birdo's slower pitch speed in this instance actually really helps the Star Pitch by making it more difficult for the batter to time their hit and move the batter to the right spot in the batter's box. That said, Birdo's is still pretty bad because once you get the timing right, it's essentially just the same as any regular pitch. So, Birdo safely ends up in number 10. Diddy Kong's Star Pitch is fundamentally just a trajectory change, like the other three that have come before it. However, Diddy's trajectory change, throwing a curveball, is actually quite difficult to hit against if you're not used to it, and because Diddy Kong is not frequently a pitcher for most people, it can really come as a surprise for a lot of batters. However, you have to be careful as a pitcher because while you do have a good amount of control over the trajectory, this means it's also possible, as we saw, to get a ball or a beanball. As the batter, although it can be a bit difficult to get the timing right, because the ball's properties don't change, you definitely can still get a hit in many circumstances, putting Diddy's Star Pitch in 9th. In 8th place, we have Peach's Star Pitch, which causes a bunch of hearts to spawn around the ball's general location, obscuring its exact pathway. Now, this is the first Star Pitch on our list that actually changes some of the ball's properties by obscuring it. Unfortunately for Peach's, it's not a very unique change, and a lot of the other Star Pitches do it a lot better. A good strategy for Peach's Star Pitch is to just look and see where the ball's shadow is, and that can give you a good idea of where the ball itself actually is going. In addition, although Peach's Star Pitch gives you a lot of control, you do need to be careful about getting balls or beanballs because it can veer off wildly to one side or the other. In 7th place, we have Daisy's Star Pitch, which is one of two Star Pitches that not only changes the way the ball works while it's being pitched, but also after being hit by the batter. It's extremely situational because what it does is it causes the ball to, after being hit, follow basically an extremely slow pop fly trajectory to the infield. However, as the batter, you do have a lot of stuff that you can do to counter this, either by using items, or you can even completely nullify the effects of the star pitch by using a star swing of your own. All these factors put Daisy's star pitch in 7th, although it does definitely have some uses. In 6th place, we have DK's star pitch, which is very similar to Daisy's, but is slightly better because of a couple of factors. DK's star pitch affords you a little bit less control while it's moving towards the plate than Daisy's, but once it's been hit, there's a critical difference that sets it slightly apart. It's a little bit harder to use items against DK's star pitch because once you've hit it, rather than being a pop fly, it's just a very slow grounder to the infield, which makes it a little bit easier to counter against items because you could pick it up much faster as the pitcher and throw it to first for the force out, whereas Daisy's is more difficult because it spends a lot more time in the air. However, just as before, a star swing will completely nullify it, earning it 6th place. The 5th place star pitch is Yoshi's. Yoshi's star pitch essentially causes a rainbow to arc over where the ball would be going, but then completely hides the ball from view until a few moments before it crosses the plate. This can be quite difficult to react to because you have a very limited time window to move the batter in the batter's box and hit the ball at the right time. It can be very easy to either mess up the timing or totally miss your sweet spot if you are not exactly prepared in time for this. As with many other star pitches, if you practice against it, you definitely will get a lot better at reliably hitting against it. But unfortunately, because Yoshi is so rarely a pitcher in this game, most players will not be very experienced against Yoshi's star pitch, which means that it can be a good thing to keep in your back pocket if you absolutely need to get that out, and for some reason you're using Yoshi. At number 4, we are now starting to get to the really good star pitches, and Waluigi is definitely one that can be really difficult to hit against. It's very similar to Yoshi's in that it obscures where the ball is going to drop until the very last second, but it gives you even less time to react and drops in an even less predictable manner. As the pitcher, you have very little control over exactly where the ball is going to end up, unfortunately, but that said, it doesn't really matter because the hitter doesn't know where it's going to end up either. This is definitely one of the star pitches where you can be more confident that you're going to get a strike, but you do have to be really careful about getting a beanball because if the batter moves too far into the inside, then it can be very easy to accidentally hit them. So be mindful of that. But with all that said, Waluigi gets into the top 4. Finally, we arrive at the top 3, where Wario at last gets a chance to shine in this game. Unfortunately, it is in a category that doesn't matter as much as many other ones, but Wario's star pitch is good. It causes him to throw 2 balls at you instead of just 1, and one of them will randomly poof into nothingness right before it crosses the plate. As far as we can tell, there is absolutely no way to predict ahead of time which one this will be, which means that there is no reliable way to hit against Wario's star pitch in any capacity when using Nunchuck. You have very little control over it as Wario, but generally speaking, if you get lucky, you are guaranteed a strike. However, there is one exception, which is if you're using vertical Wii Remote, Wario's star pitch does absolutely nothing as you auto get a hit, so there's that. In number 2, we have Bowser Jr., who has a very strong star pitch. Like many other star pitches we've seen, this one hides the ball's trajectory, but it is much more effective at that than every other one in the game. Because, unlike all of the other ones, it completely obscures the field of view with paint, and it never even reveals where the ball is at the last second. It just hides the ball, it hides the ball's shadow until it crosses the plate and you get a strike, which means that as the hitter, you have no idea where the ball is and no way to tell, and the pitcher can just do whatever they want with it. You can still get lucky and get a hit off it, but it's hard. In first place, we have Luigi, who has the best star pitch in the game. This one causes the ball to go with a tornado in a sinusoidal trajectory towards the plate. And this makes hitting the ball really difficult, mostly just because the sweet spot and the exact timing are nearly impossible to get against this ball. You have to be careful as the pitcher because there's a strong chance that you'll get a ball if you try to move the ball's trajectory, mostly because the controls are so sensitive. But the fact that you're probably going to get a pop fly, even if you do want to go for a hit, means that this star pitch is really good and generally will just be a strike, earning it first place. So that about wraps it up on the star pitches. Definitely let us know in the comments whether you agreed with this list. We will read every single one, and we welcome any and all feedback, your own personal experiences, and what you think in general. We aren't as used to dealing with star pitches as star hits, just because we don't use them as much in our two-player gameplay, so we're especially excited to see what kind of knowledge and insight our community can bring to the table on this one, and maybe we can learn a thing or two. Please make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. We are getting really close to 10K, and we'd love to hit it by the end of the year, and we really need your support to make that happen. And really hope you all have a good rest of your day, and we will see you in the next one. Doodles.